All right. Hello, 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 hello. Sean Brady here on Leverage Your Lunch Hour, where you don't necessarily be eating lunch right now, but it's all about wherever you are, whatever that time of day and around the world, wherever you're at. Just focus on your thinking a little bit, change it up. Maybe a nice shift to something you needed to hear at the right time in the right space, in the right mindset. Hopefully, this will provide some guidance for you. I'm with the one, the only, the fabulous Jaleesa Powell, our media coordinator at Medici Space. Hello, Jaleesa.
Hello, Sean.
She's in the background helping out and making sure that I stay on track and stay focused as I just keep burning up time here on the internet. So, for those that don't know, I like to focus these themes around F words, not the bad F words, nice F words like faith, family, finances, and of course, fun. So, I love the fun, and fun and finances don't necessarily always to go together, but that's what we're going to talk about today. And more specifically, as you saw, getting a long term wealth building rhythm, because Jaleesa actually inspired it. Thanks, Jaleesa, for inspiring it. She had a question. She's like, how can I do this? Well, there's a couple of things. You know, first, I'll ask you, Jaleesa, what do you think are one of the rhythms that you'd like to practice for building long term wealth? I think one of the first basic ones is.
Saving and investing. Those are my two.
Yes. Perfect. So saving and investing are definitely the building blocks, right? And if you think of this, and I'm not to say this, and there's a lot of other people who share similar things, but I even heard it said this way: money success really comes down to three components, right? And it is number one, it's your discipline around it, right? Your savings habits, what you're going to do, because it's not
Mhm.
how much you make, it's how much you keep. And that's the more important thing. And the sooner you do it, that's where you have the element of time. So it's your discipline, your money, and your time. And those three things together, that trifecta, are what build long term wealth and money success. So you already have that. The first thing is your savings. You start, and we know that there's lots of the sooner you spend this, the better off you are. And when I say you, I don't just mean Jaleesa, but I mean anyone out on the planet, myself included. And I even knew this going into college, that the more money I saved in the beginning, the better off I'd be. Now, did I do all that? No, because, common sense isn't necessarily commonly practiced right away until you're later on in life and get a little more common sense in your life. So, if you're anything like me, you got your first job, and what did I even do? I had a 401k that I did not max out. I should have maxed out. I could have maxed out. I didn't max out. But I did put some in there because at the time I had an employer match, and I think it was the first, I don't know, 4%, maybe 5% of whatever I put in, they would match. And that's what I did up to. Now, I could have put in more. And as they're talking accountants and other finance people and experts like that, I could have put in a whole lot more, and that would have served me a whole lot better today. We'd have to worry about saving less, but that's not the problem. But that was just the discipline I had. That's where I put money away and didn't think about it, and kind of a set it and forget it type of thing. But the number one thing is just getting in that regular practice and habit of saving. That comes into the practice of, do you pay yourself first? Do you pay yourself 10% of every dollar, $1 out of every 10, $10 out of every 100 of everything you make? Most of us will say no. It's like, no, I have other things. And we forget while it seems like we're strapped today, every dollar today is that many more tomorrow. Now, I just turned 50. So the timeline for my retirement, if I think about retirement age, we'll say 65, 62, that's going to have a whole lot less impact in growing. So for every dollar I save today, maybe it'll turn into $4 tomorrow. I don't know. But if I did this 20 or 30 years ago, we're talking, a 21 to return or a 30 to 1 return or even higher. the whole point is that a dollar saved 20 or 30 years ago is going to turn into a whole lot more today. And it's that discipline in the beginning to actually start that.
Nice.
But Jaleesa, you
Nice.
already knew that, didn't you?
No, that was really good advice. And I have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Do you find it easier, or like do you find that you have an easier flow or rhythm to your savings or investings when it's automatic and it's kind of like an automatic setup, or when you do it yourself? Does it have like more meaning to it?
Well, first you want to develop the habit of just doing it, right?
Hmm.
And it's a habit when you don't have to think consciously about it. You're just doing it. Whether like brushing the teeth is a great example.
Right.
Do we do it in the? Most people do it in the morning, and the evening. Some people take it an extra, and then there's the whole flossing thing, right?
Mm.
So our oral hygiene. What are the habits even around that? And it's the same thing with savings. The easier we can make it and don't have to think about it, and this is true for any habit. And I'll share one from just an eating standpoint, and I think it might have the things connect. But if we don't have to think about it, and all of a sudden we start saving, everything in this, it's like a percentage of our check goes to
Mhm.
savings. Don't have to think about it; it's gone. And then I think where your next part of the question kind of went was, well, when do you kind of, it's more of a little bit more active
Mhm.
involvement with it. And I think that comes when you realize it's like, oh, this is something I'm really working towards. Like, oh, I want to have extra money so I can be a little more adventurous into real estate entrepreneurship, or maybe that the clothing design company that you have an idea around, or something else like an acting career. Whatever those things are, you can create a different budget and actually save towards that
Mhm.
and be inspired to do that and figure out, it's like, okay, this is going to be safe and secure. I don't have to think about it, automatic. That's not even for these fun excursion things. That's for long-term taking care of myself, right? That's taking care of my future self and my future family down the road, whatever that looks like for you,
Mhm.
right? And then there's the second part of, it's like, ooh, I want to get even more active investing for these other things. Or now there's even the whole FIRE movement. Are you familiar with the FIRE movement, Jaleesa?
No.
So FIRE is an acronym, and that's for financial independence, retire early. And there's literally people
Mm.
who are going, gangbusters, hard, balls to the wall, going after it right now, right here, right? Making as much money as they possibly can, doing like 18 different jobs or whatever their wheelhouse is, and maximizing everything. And even if they're not making, you know, uh, you know, 80 to 100,000 or more a year,
Mhm.
they're being really aggressive on their savings, because what most people do, again, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. I've heard
Right.
extremes of, like, this one guy, he literally worked 3 jobs. He didn't have a car. He rode his bike to his different jobs. And
Wow.
he wouldn't allow himself to spend more than, oh gosh, it was something ridiculous, like $10 a week on partying
Oh,
in his
wow.
20s. Exactly. I'm like, I was doing that in college. I mean, how do you do that when you're out of college? It's like that. I'm like, I was doing that in teenagers. I'm like, $5 for
Right.
gas and $5 for soda and fun,
Yep.
hamburger or something down at the pot stand. It's like, how do you do what? I mean, it was extreme, so extreme that by the age of, I think it was like 30, let's say 30, he had amassed $1 million in his retirement account.
Oh, wow.
And I don't think anyone, I think at the end of it, one of his jobs was pretty successful, but the majority of that was, he lived super crazy lean. Like he rented,
Yeah.
he didn't have his own apartment. He rented with a couple or three, I think it was 3 roommates. And it kind of reminds me of my brother-in-law, who had the coldest bedroom, the least
Yeah.
heated one in the winter
Yeah.
and the hottest one in the summer. Didn't want to pay. It's like, keep the AC high. Why pay an extra electricity?
Right.
I'm like, that's a little too extreme for most people.
Yeah.
And now I can afford to like crank the AC all day long,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But it was that
Exactly.
type of discipline, and whatever your discipline dictates is what you're going to have. Now, if you
Mhm.
want to know what you're committed to discipline wise and you're unsure, this is kind of
Test the waters.
picked up this adage at Landmark, right? Then if you want to know what you're committed to, take a look around and see what you got. And that
Got you.
literally is what you're committed to in your life. The example I was going to share around my diet is, what are the things that are easy to do or hard to do that make a habit easily made or easily broken?
Mhm.
And for me, I set this crazy goal between the was it the primary elections a couple like last week and our presidential election in November. It's about 90 days, right?
Mhm.
And I'm committed to my fitness, and I've been carrying around a little extra weight around the midsection, and it's like I've been doing all these things. I do a lot of steps during the work week, and I try to eat right and exercise and all these things that we know to do. And we all have our little vices,
We all have our vices.
our
Yeah.
little things that are make us a little downfall, our Achilles heel,
Yes.
if you will. So one of mine is I can stay away from stuff, right?
Mhm.
And the kids will get ice cream and stuff like that, and but dairy doesn't always agree with me all too well.
Right.
But it tastes yummy. And
Always.
then the other thing that I've been avoiding is like so I'm trying to limit my carbs, right?
Mhm.
Certainly processed sugars, and stay gluten free. Well, yesterday I broke all three of those rules. Why? We went to I was telling Jaleesa we went to Flags as a family as part of our staycation,
Oh
and
yeah.
so I had a
Have
little
to.
teeny tiny bite of the burger bun, and I know that the fries are technically more carbs, right? But they're gluten free. Well, they're not gluten free. I know there's coating in there that's got gluten in it, and then from a sugar standpoint. My daughter didn't finish her chocolate shake, and we don't want to waste food. That'd be
No, you had
sinful,
to
right?
eat it.
No,
Yeah.
no, we can't just throw it away. It's like a freaking crazy movie price, theme park price shake. It's
Correct.
ridiculous. So I'm like, don't throw it away,
Right.
because throwing it away would be wasteful. Instead of wasting it in the garbage, I can waste it on my belly,
Correct.
right? So what I've literally done at home is put all the stuff that I don't want to eat in. We have a basement fridge, so I put it down in the basement fridge, and I try to put it behind things. So it's like, all right, if I really want that peanut butter, the good kind with the sugar in it and yumminess and all kinds of yummy, but no, it's not good for me, right? There's worse
Mhm.
things, but I like that peanut butter. Peanut butter tastes good to me. If I don't put it down in the basement and I have it up in our regular kitchen area,
Mhm.
then it's that much more accessible, and I'm probably just going to eat it,
Right. Exactly. That's the
right?
thing. Yeah. The accessible
So
part.
now think in your own finances. What's something really easy, no brainer to spend money on
Food, for sure.
every day, right?
Every
It's
day.
a huge cost. So we can set up these little rules for ourselves, little games, if you will. And I know I've done this before. It's like, all right, well, I have a lunch budget, and it looks like I've gone out a lot, even though sometimes I'm really only going out once a week. It looks like I've gone out every
Mhm.
day that week.
Right.
And sometimes I go out, and instead of going to the restaurant, I'll go to the grocery store. And actually, I might spend the same amount of money, but now I just know I've tripled the volume of food that I had. Yeah, I have to do a little bit of prep for it. But even if I buy a head of lettuce and a thing of tomatoes and whatever, there's my $10 salad. Well, that $10 salad from the grocery store is going to feed me like three times, maybe
Mhm.
four, right?
Yeah.
Or I can even share it, part of it.
Mhm.
And I'll certainly have dressing over for next time, and I'll certainly get something that's going to be quite nourishing and good. But it's
That's
so easy just to go through the drive-through
so
and get
easy.
something hot and
Convenient.
yummy. Oh, is that a
Yeah.
tasty burger with a nicey cold beverage and hot something or other, like a side, like fries?
Exactly.
Right, exactly, right.
Hard.
And even if we go to the QT, the Quick Trip, right?
Mhm.
They got a 99-cent dog. Well, you can't just get a 99-cent dog. Then you're going to get oh, it's a 99-cent chip and, an 89-cent drink, any size. Well, that's,
Yeah.
you just,
They
spent
get you with the
$3.
sales. Yep.
And, you could have, if you're going to eat that way and it's a choice, right? You could have got
Mhm.
that stuff at the grocery store for a lot cheaper. And you know
A
that.
lot. Very true.
You might have
And
had to buy a
more.
bigger volume, but you'd have more meals out of it. So
Correct.
we know these things intuitively. We're not dumb people. And if we set up our habits to be easy, they'll be easy. If we set them up, when we set them up to be hard, that's how we break a bad habit,
Got it.
right? And that's why I literally put peanuts and my peanut butter because I like those crunchy peanuts. They're delicious.
Mm, yeah.
I have them, but like even now, I have the one can. I haven't opened it yet. Like I haven't pulled the seal on it. I turn it upside down. I have it in the fridge in the back, and I haven't eaten it. I haven't cracked it open in a month, and I really like those peanuts.
Oh, nice.
Yes, but then yeah, I also have the peanut
Nice.
butter. Now I don't like my kids' peanut butter. They
Yeah.
got the kind that's like all super sugary and easy to
Yeah.
right. Their peanut butter. I'm talking my peanut butter.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it, but I got to put it downstairs. And I got to hide it away. Otherwise, it's just too easy. It's like, you know what? I just ate a
Yeah.
third of a jar of peanut butter.
Whew, you can
So
go
is
through
the
it. I
discipline?
understand.
Is it easy? It's like same thing with my steps. My a friend asked me, and I do Fitbit challenges and steps, for the week. And
Mhm.
my goal is 15,000 steps a day. And like, Sean, how do you get so many steps in? Are you running? I'm like, no, I just walk. Well, how do you walk so many steps? I go out and walk, right? But I make it easier for me. So it's like, all right, I'm going to put on the same pair of shorts. I know where my socks are. I know where my shoes are. And, it's like I do one stretch routine before I walk out the door and then I go. Because if
Yep.
I do anything else, I'll get sucked into it. I'll get sucked into
Yeah.
Instagram. I'll get sucked into LinkedIn. I'll
Yeah.
get
I
sucked into
can watch
responding to
that.
something. I
Yep.
did this morning and I'm like going, oh my gosh, I got to put this down. I didn't get out for my walk as early as I wanted to. And then of
Yep.
course it was a lot more humid today because we're in the Midwest.
Yes.
So it's setting up those little habits and having a commitment to your long-term self to really want. So if you could have any way, think about it this way. And most people that don't even think about this. What do you look like in retirement?
Hmm.
Think of your future self. What do you
Yeah.
want it to look like in retirement?
Yeah. What do you
And then what
envision?
age,
At what
right?
age? Yeah, that's important
At
too.
what age? I know people that are retired before they're 40.
Yep.
I know people that are retiring in their early 50s. I know a lot of people that are, pushing 70 and not retired yet. Some because they don't want to retire. They have
Right.
the option. And then there are some that they don't have the option. They need to
Yep.
keep
That's
working,
true.
right? So if we define that sooner, that's always
You can
better. It's like,
prepare.
when's the best
Yes.
time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time? Right now.
Right.
Begin
Exactly.
today. Think about
Exactly.
this today. I mean, you have the advantage of, you got a lot of your life mapped out in front of you. Don't worry about what you can't change the past,
That's very true.
right? So
Yep.
look to those disciplines for that you want to set up for yourself. But first, visualize what it is that you want your retirement to look like. And it doesn't have to be fancy,
Right. It can
right?
be very right.
It can
Exactly.
vary. There was literally
Very
another
simple.
gentleman, and maybe I'll try and get him on the show because I don't even think he has his own podcast. But he's retiring mid 50s and a very seemingly modest lifestyle. He used to live in the city and a really expensive house, and they sold that expensive house and they got this, some acreage in the mountains. And instead of like $500,000 house, they really downsized to I think it was 180,000. But the thing was that he wanted was a fifth wheel trailer that he and his wife could pull around and go around the country. Now, I don't necessarily want to
Wow.
do that,
Yeah.
but I like that he's doing what he wants to do,
And he can
and
do it.
you have the opportunity to define it for yourself. I personally, my wife, I'm going to do whatever my wife wants, of course, right?
Right.
God willing.
Right.
And what she wants to do is, I'm like, well, where do you want to live in retirement? We've had these conversations. And
Hmm.
she goes, oh, anywhere our kids are. I'm like, well, we have 4 kids. What if they scatter the four
Split
corners
up,
of the earth? How are we going to do that?
right?
She's like, well, then we're going to go visit them. And I'm like, okay, fine. So we'll figure all these things out as they play out. So mentally, it's like, well, what does that look like? Do we want to have an apartment there? Do we
Hmm.
want to own something there? I personally love hotels. I love the
Right.
idea of them. I love the idea of sharing common spaces. And I actually take advantage of that. For some of you, I have a commercial real estate background, and I really appreciate
Right.
some of these different nuances
Right.
out there. So my idea as part of that is, not live in a hotel, but certainly enjoy it. Enjoy some of
Enjoy.
these
Yeah.
Airbnb type experiences, or rent a place, a flat or an apartment, a condo, a townhouse, a villa, whatever you want to call it, for a month at a time. I think that'd be pretty cool. Travel all parts of the world. I think that's pretty cool. Everybody knows I'm the regular wine guy. I'd like to try some wine out there. And then Brady eats all these yummy food things. I just want these food experiences from all over the place. And they don't have to be expensive. Sometimes they do, but
Right.
most of the time it's just like, oh, I just want to experience it in a different setting. Kind of
Yeah.
like how pizza and hot dogs are different wherever you go in the country.
Hmm. It's very true. That's very true.
Right?
My dad is actually like he's more so like that guy, and he would love to get like an RV and just that's all they want to do. Come visit us wherever we are. All my sisters have been
Yeah.
spread out for a while, so
My friend Byron, who is in Chicago, we had all these wonderful conversations, and he retired. Oh gosh, years ago. Right? He
mhm.
was he was much older than I, and he loved driving across the country. Right? He
Really.
grew up. He grew up in Europe, and he's like, I'm like, well, what do you want to do on vacation? I see you working all the time. You worked in our condo building, right? And he's like, oh, I love to drive. I'm like, you love to drive? Why do you love to drive? He's like, well, it's like you get to see the country. You're going over the landscape and you're seeing different
Hmm.
places. And
Visual.
you're behind the wheel of this car and you're controlling where you want to go.
Wow.
And that was like the American dream to him,
Wow.
and he was able to do it, right? And he did have some real estate assets that he bought over time, but that was kind of like his savings
Yeah.
into a 401k, because they didn't have those. He had, might have had a small pension or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but the bigger thing is that he saved towards the things that he
Mhm.
wanted for when he couldn't work anymore.
Exactly. Nice.
Yeah. So what did you hear in all that? Because I know I talk a lot.
Well, I heard that it's important to first start the habit when it comes to saving. And for me, when I don't see it or think about it, it's great. So there's an app called Stash that like allows you to just kind of like set up automatic withdrawals from
Right.
your account. You can pick whatever amount you want. So I'll definitely set that up so I can just not think about it. And then it's always good to look back and like, oh, this is how much I've saved so far. Cool, keep going. And
Right.
then, that's motivation. Um, the other thing was think forward in where do you want to end up? Like, a lot of us think about like what we want to like have the success we want to have and maybe the job we want to have, but maybe not past that and how we want to just, eventually relax at some point. So painting that retirement vision for myself is also another step. And then from
Yeah.
that, like work back toward where I am now.
Exactly.
Yep.
Perfect.
That's what I got.
Excellente. That's really great work. So remember, the three things are, yeah, you have to save money to have savings for money success. You have to work with some money. You need to
Right.
start there, right? But the biggest first thing is your mental mindset, your
Yep.
discipline, and how you want it to go. Because
Mhm.
you can literally save 10%, you can save 50%. You can be like that other guy, save 90% of everything you make,
Correct.
right? And be really disciplined. And, because you've seen this, you've seen, I'm sure everyone's experienced this, where somebody says no to a drink being served
Yeah.
and you don't know why. It's like, oh, well, I'm on this thing. Or They say no to a party because they're it's like, no, it's just not my thing. Or,
Yeah,
your ability to say no is your biggest asset in winning any disciplined area of your life
correct. And getting what you want.
and getting what you want. Because if you're not saying no, then
You
you are
are
saying yes to something that you might not really be in alignment with.
correct. Yeah.
So, and we all do it. It's part of being human. Don't
Yep.
have to get like, oh, I'm a terrible
Right.
person,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So there you go.
Thank
Leverage your
you.
lunch hour. A little bit of our thinking for the day on finances, and it doesn't just apply to finances; it's for our whole life, right?
Yep.
It's great stuff. Jaleesa, thank you for participating in all the wonderful questions. And I certainly hope it provides you with wonderful insight for your life. And everyone who's live with us, thank you. And everyone who sees this later on in time, hopefully this provides some direction and inspiration. And inspiration comes from you, not from me. Inspiration for yourself to take action in being decisive and disciplined in whatever you want to have. All right. I'm Sean Brady. This is Leverage Your Lunch Hour, and we're talking finances. Thank you for Jaleesa Powell and all of Medici for being a wonderful asset to this show and many, many others. Jaleesa, our media coordinator. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jaleesa.
My pleasure.
All right. And like I always end these things, we may not see you in person, but we will see you right here on social media. Thanks for watching. And I always forget to click on the thing and set myself up faster. So we're going to stop the live stream in 3, 2, 1. See y'all.